For August the 26th, 2016, we talk about Twitch's acquisition of Curse, Apartment, and we ask you which series you arrived to late. Welcome to level 163. My name is Kole Ross.
I'm Dennis Furia.
I'm Jala Prendez.
And I'm Ben Merkel.
And you are listening to The Level. It's a podcast for people who love video games. Oh, so happy that you're here joining us, one and all, both on the host side here and on the listener side. Something big that happened on the day that I released the previous episode that I had no idea I was going to do on that day when we recorded, so we missed it, is we have a shirt store now.
Yeah, I know. I totally bought the things, and they're on the way to my house. I'm so excited.
Yeah, no, I have. I ordered a test one, and even though I do not wear anything besides a black T-shirt, I have a very nice maroon Abject Suffering logo shirt that I ordered to test the shirt and print quality, and I can assure you, the shirts are baby soft, and the print is really, really good.
Made with real babies?
Yeah, this is exciting
Baby
stuff.
Yep. Yeah.
So different from other runs of shirts we've done, this doesn't really have a time limit on it, right?
Right. These are print on demand. It's being served through a company called TeePublic. And it's not screen printing, but it is very, very high quality, like, digital print kind of stuff. So they don't have to do them in any kind of quantity or, runs, which is why we had those Teespring campaigns before, because I was pretty nervous about quality. But once I assured myself that the quality was good, yeah, these are just up there forever. And we have one with most of the show logos. We have some in-jokes, like there's a Sugarbone shirt if you want it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got one.
Yep, there's a Year of the Tadpole shirt if you want to commemorate that wonderful summer. Anything like that. And the cool thing, and this is a little bit hidden, especially because the site is called TeePublic, but each of those designs can also be put on like a mug or a notebook or something like that.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, which is kind of cool.
I saw that.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, like, I don't mean to make this a commercial at the start, but it's kind of a big move. We're always trying to figure out the best way to handle this kind of stuff. And one of the big pieces of feedback that we got was that, oh man, I barely knew that you guys were running a t-shirt campaign and now it's over with. Well, now it is always t-shirt season. So by the time you listen to this, you can go to Duckfeed.tv/shirts and see that. Oh, go ahead. What?
I had to say, too, that one of the other things that a lot of people said was, I want a hoodie that zips, and there is a zip hoodie option, and I bought a level zip hoodie so I can be representing and keeping it real.
Yes, I did not even see that.
That's a zip hoodie it represented. That's the first thing I looked at. I said, it has a hoodie. Let me look and see if there's a zip hoodie, because we wanted that thing. I'm going to have to poke Kole if there isn't a zip hoodie.
Yeah. Huh.
And there was. So I didn't have to poke you after all.
I didn't even see. Oh, you're right. There is a classic zip hoodie. Wow.
I know what I'm talking about.
Okay, no. I just there are a lot of there are a lot of options.
There are a lot of options. Although for teeny tiny Jalas, there's only like a couple of things that don't look like bags, but that's okay. I wear a lot of tank tops and stuff, and at least this one isn't going to be like a muscle tank, which is what the other, like the Watch Out for Fireballs one I got was a while back.
I still feel bad about that.
That's okay. I just gave it to a guy, who could wear it, and it was fine. But
yeah, very
that
cool.
That just means I have to buy another one, but I didn't buy it on this run because this is my level representing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
So check that stuff out. I'm really proud of the designs. Like what you're seeing there is, except for the show logos, which were done in a fit of uncharacteristic productivity, let's say. Most of the show logo shirts were made over the course of several hours. A lot of the kind of like bespoke designs are things that we have kind of done at various times before. You'll recognize a couple of other shirts that have been out there, things from previous shirt polls, and just kind of designs that have been that I made for the the postcards and stuff like that. So
Yep.
Yeah. And there has never been a more appropriate time for Trap Snakes 2016.
Yep. Although I have to say, with the colors that I chose, Turtles Pillars looks very handsome. Yeah. Have fun explaining these to the people around you.
I was going to say anybody, except for the people who are in Duckfeed already and get it.
It's one of those things. I wanted to minimize, like with the show logo ones, I wanted to minimize the amount of text that's on there, with the exception of on Fireside Chat, which is, we've just had so much kind of show art for that, it's hard to pick one to put on there, so I decided to go with that.
Yeah.
But like, if it's just a logo, it'll be just a logo, and if it's an in-joke, boy oh boy, we will not explain the in-joke. So, I don't know.
It's good
And
stuff.
now to coerce you into a Sugarbone album, that's my next goal. At least a song, Kole. Come on.
Man, there's so many projects. Oh no!
But that wasn't a no. That wasn't
okay.
a no.
No, it's not
Okay.
a no. It's just on a someday maybe thing,
Yeah.
But that is that's pretty much the biggest thing. Is there anything else that I'm kind of missing that should get out there up here at the top? Anybody
that's
have
the big one.
any cool stories over this past week?
I ordered a shirt over the weekend, so I'm excited to get it. That's about it.
I was trying to transition to something else.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Transition for you.
What's that?
No transition for you. You do not get.
Oh, well. Yeah, so that is a cool thing, but usually, as usual, we have just kind of the regular kind of show for you, the brief, the multiplayer, and the grind. And Jala, you have said that you're not going to be fleeing in the midst of the grind this time. Not that we
That's
blamed
right.
you before.
That's my big news. And not that I've gotten any more sleep, mind you,
Right.
but I'm still not going to be leaving anyway. So
Yeah.
You've realized that sleep is a fool's errand and for chumps, so you've come fully to the dark side.
Sleep is for chumps.
Or like, it's more like I'm not running tomorrow morning, so the chance of me getting injured because of lack of sleep is lesser.
Unless you sleep run, which I would not put above you.
It could possibly
I'm
happen.
telling you, Jala is the unbreakable runner. She will never stop unless she chooses to.
Or until she hits a coastline, I guess.
There you go.
And even then, we're not so sure.
Hey, there's the Marathon Challenge. That's coast to coast. Right?
Yeah. By definition.
Yep. We got 1,500 miles in that thing already. So
Holy shit,
we're
that's
good.
that's about halfway, right?
Yeah, it's over halfway. Or, no, it's actually not quite halfway. You're right.
No.
Almost.
Just
Almost.
about.
That's okay. Honestly, a couple of the people have not updated in a while, their miles. So once they put those in there, we'll probably be halfway.
Yeah, I mean, like, and I guess it also depends. Like, what did they take their measurement from? Is it like from Miami Beach or Tampa to Seattle, or is it the wide?
It's actually like a flyover thing where they design it where it goes through a bunch of monuments and things. So there's flyover videos for each chunk.
Okay.
So it starts you over in the Bay Bridge area, and then it just meanders across the U.S. over to New York, I think.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's cool.
Yeah.
And we're kicking a lot of ass in that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, that is good to hear. Duck Waddle represent.
Yep. Now in a level shirt.
Duck Waddle is a very hard thing to say. Yeah, but oh boy, I messed up the intro. We've got the usual thing, the brief, the multiplayer grind, and let's go on to the brief, where we talk about things that are happening in the world of video games around us. Can you tell that these are just loops of tape that are playing out of my mouth as I talk?
You black
What did we
out
ask the
shortly
nice
before each
people?
show.
Now, Now I'm thinking about like tape coming out of your mouth, and it's really weird and disturbing.
Help, move. It's like a clown's handkerchief. Hours and hours every week. Let's see here. Jala, your story seems like it is of large import, so I will throw to you.
Yeah, I actually picked an important story instead of some random shit. All right, so anyway, Twitch has acquired Curse, which operates a bunch of sites with forums, wikis, and mods for games, most notably WoW, League of Legends, Minecraft, Pokemon, Diablo 3, Hearthstone, and others. With about 30 million unique visitors a month. They focus specifically on competitive online games only because they're not trying to, compete with the bigger gaming sites that are like broader focus. And Twitch's top games right now actually mirror Curse's communities. Mm-hmm. So that's of interest, of course, to this acquisition. But also, Curse recently launched a TeamSpeak competitor, which is, like IRC and VoIP together.
Yeah.
So the article that I read suggested that Twitch may be using this new app as part of an in-house broadcasting solution, as right now you have to use a third-party program like OBS. So that's why that is of interest to anybody who streams or watches streams or cares about any of that stuff. So
well, I mean, this is definitely an Amazon-style acquisition where, I mean, Amazon does build the stuff that the entire internet is based upon, but they also, have a history of going out and doing this kind of like, well, we're just, we don't want to build it, so we're just going to buy it. And, I mean, if you look at just the infrastructure that needs to support something the size of like the League of Legends community, it seems like a smart move.
Yeah. I'd say so, especially since, like I said, the top games on Twitch right now are the same ones that, are featured on Curse. So that being the case, like, I wonder what kinds of other integrations, not just the TeamSpeak, TeamSpeak alike, but the, insofar as the wikis and forums and stuff, like if there's going to be some kind of integration or whatever, like what could they hatch up, linking those things together.
Yeah. And will it be like per game? Will it be, a way for individual broadcasters to kind of like build their own community around that? Like, what will that voice over IP lend to? Because like in doing research on kind of top Twitch broadcasters and looking at the way they set up their stuff, most of them seem to have some kind of deal with Discord that I can't actually discern what it means. But I don't know. The more that they can, give people something that out of the box lets them create content easier without having to resort to OBS, if that is indeed what this is for, then big thumbs up.
Yeah, it's always struck me as supremely weird that the main way to stream to Twitch is through some rando freeware platform. And it's a great platform, don't get me wrong. But
it's gotten so much better, too.
Yeah, and it comes out of left field a little bit that it's like, if you're getting set up to stream, you're like, all right, I've created my Twitch account, profile's going, so where's the button on Twitch to download Twitch's streaming software? And they're like, here's a link to an outside site. Like,
and that honestly turned me off from even jacking with it for a very long time, because I was like, you know what? I don't feel like dealing with all this bullshit. Like, if you had just given me a link and I didn't have to think about it, then that'd be fine. But this is late at night, and I've got things to do with myself rather than try to figure this out.
If it's a choice between just playing the damn game or figuring out how I can have people watch me play the game, streaming is a wonderful experience. I so enjoy the time that I spend doing it. But holy shit, the amount of time that I've put into it to try and solidify a setup to where it's not just a horrifying ordeal every time I try and fire it up.
For me, about 90% of the effort goes into what to name the stream. That's the most important part.
Okay. So, well, you're a marketer though.
Yeah,
that's true.
I'm sorry. It's
technically not anymore.
Oh, okay, sure.
Yeah. Yeah, go figure. But no, the closer it can get to what PS4 has, where you literally push a button, the happier I am.
Yeah. I really dig the ability to have a choice in how you do it, though. Like, I hope that an official solution wouldn't preclude, like, the open source, kind of
route.
Yeah, that route. Sorry, thank you. I'm having trouble finding my words. Yeah, like, don't close off that route, because, like, I kind of like being able to have, like, Twitch alerts and to set up my own little graphics on things and change those scenes. Like, all of that is, for as meager as it is on mine, and for as unobtrusive as I want for it to be, it's still kind of a nice thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, agree.
I haven't muddled with any of that. So, like, I see you guys souping up your Twitch stream, and I'm like, yeah. but I don't know. Yeah. All right.
Or even for something like Duckstream, right?
Yeah.
It's wonderful to be able to have those, those alerts pop up and that tracking, and I'm already like looking at what I need to do in order to soup up, the like my leg of Duckstream, right? In order to make it more of a pinball machine, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, it'll probably be several years before this bears any fruit, though. Not several years, several months. Let's say 6 months before we see anything out of it.
Yeah, it'll be a little bit before we see something happen with it, but at the same time, like, it's interesting, and if you see some weirdo changes happening, that would be why, probably. So
yeah, neat.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Yeah.
I will do a brief one here because, Dennis, you have a big one, and Ben, you have another one. This is just a real quick heads up. I would have missed it if I was not already kind of following news about Inside. Inside is now available on PS4. So if you do not have a machine that can run Inside, that cool Limbo sequel kind of spiritual successor game that we talked about several weeks back, now it is available to, run on a fairly popular system. So if you are like a lot of people and you only have a Mac computer and a PS4, this is a way for you to experience this cool thing.
Fairly popular system.
What? PS4? See, that's the thing. I hedged it so it wouldn't be a controversial statement.
Okay.
Kind of piggybacking on that one.
Yeah, go for it.
My story is about how The Witness is coming out to Xbox One on September 13th. And so I think that's still been my favorite game of the year. So I highly recommend that if you haven't had a chance to play that.
Yep, so. to the Xbox One, Dennis is what he said.
Oh,
what's
did
that?
I say? Oh, sorry.
No, Dennis is doing a bit where he pretends not to know what the Xbox One is. Man, Project Scorpio.
Yeah, or what's the name for the new special, the 1S, and then the whatever their revamp is, and
box full of Scorpions.
that's the big news. It's coming to the Xbox One, but then it's not coming to the later versions.
No, and they walked back their decision to not have any exclusive Project Scorpion games.
Really?
Yeah. They said actually no. There are probably going to be some games that you need the Scorpion to play.
Oh man, my heart hurts. That.
What do you care? You don't have one. It's fine.
This is true, but for anyone who does, like, it just, my heart goes out to you. Like, I do not envy you that sinking feeling.
Yeah. So pertinent to what you're saying, Ben, I will encourage people who have not yet played The Witness. If you're worried about playing it on a console with a kind of non-mouse and keyboard controller, a gamepad controller is more than enough fidelity for you to be able to control it.
Yeah, I was gonna say I played it on PS4 and it works.
Yeah.
There's only one section of the game that is difficult with a controller, but that is not necessary to do. So
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it's only difficult, not impossible.
Yes, correct.
There's the Twitch shooter section of it that just kind of randomly comes up.
Yeah, it just very briefly turns into Counter-Strike.
FPS, a lot of headshots. You witness all the headshots.
So much blood. You're a doctor and you have to drag over the grid patterns to stitch up wounds of increasing complexity.
What's it? There is a game about being like a surgeon or whatever. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, there you go. Yep. So.
Yep.
It's a crossover event right there.
The crossover hit of the century. This forgotten DS game. Oh.
No, crossover is the style of stitching that you have to do.
Oh yes. Yeah, and finally here, Dennis, what you got?
Yeah, so it was leaked well before this recording that the PlayStation 4 Slim is coming out. So that's not really news, even though I'm guessing it was not even really a leak. It was one of those, oops, I'll just drop this here for people to cover as news. So the new thing though that's come out is that there will be some tweaks to the DualShock 4 controller coming with the new Slim console. The video looks like it's since been taken down from YouTube, but the changes are slight, nothing huge, because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. They perfected that shit with the PlayStation 2, I think.
Okay, doke.
But basically the Slim. Oh, sorry, say that again.
I just said you are intense, sir.
The Slim apparently doesn't have the light, the dorsal fin light of the PlayStation 4 that shows status.
So they're taking that away. I like that feature.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. Now, this is not the light on the controller. That'll still be there. But now the light that shows whether or not the PS4 is in rest mode will actually show up on the controller. And it will shine through the touchpad.
I don't know that I like that either. I like the actual system being able to give me that feedback.
Yeah, I guess I don't know what specific need it was filling, other than occasionally when I'm walking through the living room and I see that the light is on and I'm like, oh shit, we forgot to turn it off. It's just stuck in a Hulu loop all day.
A Hulu.
That's helped me out. I guess I would maybe not notice as readily if it was on the PS4 controller, but I don't know. Like it seems kind of arbitrary, and it's probably speaking more to the fact that they were having trouble doing it on the console than necessarily they thought it would be better on the PS4 controller.
Yeah, I like feedback about the system to be visually apparent on the system itself.
Yeah. So
this is just a knee-jerk reaction to it. It may not be that big of a deal.
Yeah.
This is
like
you.
If the most that happens, like I said, is you waste a little bit of power, which, hey, who knows? Depending on how much you care about the environment, that could be a big deal. But the other change is that there's going to be a color swap, apparently, and that the base color is going to become gray versus the original controller's black for the face buttons, shoulder buttons, and analog sticks and D-pad.
Yeah.
Weird. So it's interesting style choice there.
It's kind of strange because this is the first PlayStation redesign where the redesign doesn't simultaneously address some kind of massive technical problem or defect. Because like PS2, you had disk read errors. With PS3, like just had those crazy like overheating kind of things that they fixed slightly before they did the redesign, but it was far enough into the generation that it the PS3 Slim kind of came along with that stability increase. Like I don't think that my PS4 is especially too large, where it sits. And also I have had next to no problem with it working. So right now it's actually kind of hard for me to see like a real justification for this aside from just kind of that mid-cycle bump in numbers.
Yeah, where is this generation's R-Rod or Y-Rod? Or Y-Lod. R-Rod or Y-Lod?
Y-Lod, why?
That's good. But yeah, so there hasn't been any console crashing, destroying problem. And maybe this is a slam on Sony, but I think they said that the PlayStation 4 is made with kind of less custom parts than anything before. Like they were way more willing to have the technical aspects be off the shelf versus like custom designed.
Yeah.
Which I think made everyone happy and is probably leading to higher quality and less catastrophic failures.
Yeah, and also made games easier to develop for by switching to x86.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I think the most exciting thing about the PS4 Slim is it sounds like what a cowboy would name himself if he wanted you to know exactly which system he liked. That's PS4 Slim over there coming into town.
Multiplayer.
Now it is time for the multiplayer, where we ask you a question and you answer it. This is what we do as a modification on the listener mail portion of a show, if anybody is trying to map our segments onto other stuff. Jala, what is the question that you asked the nice people?
I asked, what game series did you get into late and like so much that you played the prior entries thereafter? Thanks to Eric C. for the question.
Yeah, and I'm going to get us started right away with Mai, who says, I've tried several older games from a series when I got into them late, like playing Adventures of Link to try an older Zelda, but usually I pick one or two older ones of interest. Castlevania is the only example that comes to mind. I got into it with Symphony of the Night, and that led to playing the earlier entries. Prior to that, I had only dabbled with Bloodlines and played Adventure on Game Boy. Yeah. That's pretty similar to mine, and I'm just going to get mine out of the way. Yes, playing Castlevania Aria of Sorrow was how I got into Castlevania as a series. Never held much truck with it, and then that kind of cascaded backwards to kind of appreciating the series as a whole.
Neato.
Yeah. And I'm very happy that Mai said that, because otherwise it was just going to be, well, I played Dark Souls before Demon Souls. And our listeners do that to us enough. It doesn't need to come from inside the podcast.
Right? Get original, Kole.
Dennis, your first exposure to Castlevania was through Lords of Shadow, right?
Yeah, I mean,
God, you poor thing.
Yeah. I played I forget which one it was, but I did play the 2D side-scrolling ones very briefly as ROMs beforehand, but never really got into it.
Okay.
I shamefully, I cannot say that caused me to go back and
That's
try
not shameful.
the old ones.
If I had played that one first, I'd be like, ugh.
Nobody would blame you.
Table flipping time.
Hey, that game, I think I'm on record as that game was my first platinum.
Mm-hmm.
Platinum
Really?
trophy. I played it so much. Huh. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Okay, Dennis. I don't know. I don't know. I got nothing.
Yeah. Let's see here. Ben, what does Michael say?
Michael says, the Mana series. I started with Legend of Mana, falling in love with its bright world and quirky characters. I ended up going back to Secret of Mana and Seiken Densetsu 3. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I discovered big differences between each title, but they all shine in unique ways.
That was one of those series that I actually have never played, that I kind of like intended to play at some time, and I just didn't. So...
Yeah.
And at this point, it's kind of like it's been so long and I've been out of that kind of like loop that I don't know how well I'd appreciate it now, like,
Yeah.
My 8th grader patience is gone. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the kind of game you would need to make a point to play.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess I'm kind of like that. My first Mana game was the Final Fantasy Adventure, which was made into the absolutely stellar and must-play Sword of Mana. No, never play Sword of Mana. And,
I was about to say, I seem to remember listening to that episode. And
yeah.
was that the first game that you guys like bailed on before the end?
My memory says yeah, but that was like in the summer of 2012. It was like that and Sacrifice, like both came in relatively quick succession. Let's just say yes. But it was very near the end where we quit out of Disgust. And we haven't done that for several years, actually. So that's good. Yeah.
Gotten better at calling your shots.
Yep. Or at least trying to determine if we're at least going to be able to tolerate the game before we actually pull the trigger. Yeah.
Hey, what? Was that like a jab or something?
No, that absolutely wasn't a jab. I mean, you can read it as one, but it wasn't intended as one.
No, like some of the listeners have been teasing the crap out of me about VLR since my table flipping days. So,
let's see here. Oh gosh, Dennis, what does Sam say?
Dennis answered one.
Sam
didn't
says,
he?
Nope, it was Ben.
I didn't. Oh well.
No,
never mind.
I'm coming around to you last in the rotation because you read the question out loud.
Sam says this question is incredibly hard if you're old, haven't played video games your entire life. I didn't get into Devil May Cry until part 3, and since this was the days before old video games were apparently worth more than gold, it was easy to pick up the first 2 afterwards. I could say that I didn't get into Metal Gear until MGS2, but I've never actually beaten any of the pre-PlayStation Metal Gears. Technically, I came to Devil May Cry 3 first as well. I went back and tried to play the first game, and it would not work on my PS2.
Oh no.
I would have said that got me into the series, but I literally could not play the earlier games. So
yeah,
still curious about those ones.
Well, that's interesting. So you're that a game didn't play on the console, and usually like what we've been talking about like was it last week or the week before, whenever it was that we were talking about like stuff working on systems, like PC versus consoles, and you were having an issue with the console just now.
Well, and keep in mind that I think the original Devil May Cry was a very early PS1 game, and I was trying to play it on my
PS2 game.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, DMC was a PS2 game. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, never mind then. It should have worked.
Not DMC, like the team. Fuck everything. Fuck reboots.
Not that one. The other one.
Something
the old one.
Oh shit, Dennis, does your PS3 still work?
It does not read discs.
Okay, this might be of interest to you. There's a Capcom Humble Bundle where all the games are on PlayStation systems, so you can pay $15 and get the entire Devil May Cry HD collection, along with a bunch of other pretty cool stuff.
I could see that being worthwhile.
This isn't a commercial. This is just me bringing your attention to something that caught my eye.
Cool.
Yeah.
DMC. I think to avoid confusion now, we should call the reboot from here on out.
Which is the sound my throat makes when I think about the game. I don't even have an opinion. So for the purpose of that bit, I was a character who didn't much care for that game.
We already know my opinion of that game. We don't need to talk about that.
Jala, what does Gustavo say?
Gustavo says, technically speaking, Super Robot Tyson original generations. The series started in the NES era, but we only officially released in the U.S. at only officially released.
Yes.
Okay. In the U.S. as 2 GBA games. Well, last week I learned that the 2 more recent Super Robot Tyson games we're getting an English release on the Asia market, and that the PS4 is not region locked. Guess who has a PS4 and overpaid for an import copy of the game? Oh, that sucks. Whoops.
Overpaid is relative.
Yeah, that's true.
If you wanted it.
Well, I don't know. Apparently, he does not approve of this expenditure.
Okay, all right. Yeah. So Super Robot Tyson.
This is a. Oh, go ahead.
No. I was just gonna say, like, this is a game that is like Fire Emblem or.
Oh, okay.
Or I think anyway. Let me do it quick. But like Fire Emblem or Advance Wars. I may be totally wrong. Because I should know, and the only reason that I'm taking a moment to look at this, Super Robot Wars. There we are. And
holy shit, that's a lot of robots.
Yeah, that is a lot of robots, and it's a lot of anime artwork. I just want to see gameplay. God damn it.
No gameplay for you.
Yep, turn-based strategy game, like any of those things that I just mentioned. Yeah, neat.
Nice.
So at least you're able to play it, and that's cool.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Steven writes, it would be Metal Gear Solid for me. My first exposure to the series was MGS4, and somehow, in spite of the ridiculous length of the cutscenes and my general distaste for anime-esque silliness, I was drawn in enough to play the rest of the games, and ultimately, I love the series as a whole.
Yeah, he's a super MGS fan, so that's interesting.
The only thing that would be more bizarre is if you said, I got into it with Metal Gear Acid.
I want to double down on his sentiments, where after playing Snake Eater, I think I went back and played parts of the first one and then continued to play the game after that. So I think that was a big one for me.
I started with Snake Eater myself, so I'm pretty close to that too.
Yeah, Snake Eater is a really good place to start.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Ben, what does Paul say?
Paul says, I never played a Metroid game until Super Metroid on the SNES. I liked it so much that I actually went back and played the Metroid on the NES and Metroid 2 on Game Boy. The games were kind of outdated at that time, and the level designs were pretty monotonous compared to the great visuals and variety of Super Metroid. But they still captured the sense of isolation and exploration, and it was cool seeing how the series got its start. Now it's one of my favorite series, yes, even including Metroid Prime. Here's hoping for a new entry on the NX.
You don't have to qualify liking Metroid Prime. A lot of people like it. We just didn't get it, or I just didn't get it. I'm just going to, referring to people on this show. So that reminds me as well. I my first Metroid game was Metroid Fusion. The Game Boy Advance was such a wonderful entry point into these like long running beloved series for me.
That's sad because you didn't like Metroid Fusion.
Oh, I liked Metroid Fusion when I played it at the time. It just didn't hold up at a replay.
Well, see, I'm curious to see how I would like it if I replayed it, because I really have a lot of fond memories for it, but I did not replay it when you guys were playing it. So, yeah.
I mean, so like the nice part is you don't have a Wii. It's a so I determined that I can actually, since I rearranged my apartment, my Wii U gamepad will send signal to my bedroom. So I can play. So I can play Game Boy Advance games or anything on the Wii U that supports gamepad play in my bed.
So that's the nice thing, is that I don't have a Wii.
No, I'm sorry. that was like 7 different things. If you had a Wii U, you would be able to play it on Virtual Console. However, Game Boy Advance is super easy to emulate. So if you wanted to make that a priority, you totally could. Sorry. Oh, yeah. I mean, like 7 different points, and none of them were good.
That just kind of reminded me of what was it? The most recent Abject Suffering, when Gary was reading, this very long run-on of a sentence from GameFAQs, comma, blah blah blah, comma.
Yep. Oh, I'm so tired because of my allergies. I can't string a sentence together. Oh no.
Oh, you can string it together and keep on going with it.
I can string multiple sentences together. I just can't end them.
There you go.
Dennis, what does Chase say?
Chase says, Saints Row. I started with the 3rd, then rolled back to 1 and 2. Those games have a bizarre tonal arc normally, but when you start with the later games, it's all the stranger. So was Saints Row 1 like serious? Were they always over the top silly, or I thought it started out as like a very, very straight faced serious game?
Yeah, it was a very straight laced gang based Grand Theft Auto clone with Saints Row 1 is my understanding.
So with the amount of snark you would expect from a GTA, but not the like complete over the topness that they've become known for.
Right. Ben, it sounds like you know this, so you can answer the question better.
I know it from playing the Saints Row 1 demo, and it was just a total GTA 4 ripoff. But yeah, that was more serious storyline from my understanding as well.
Yeah. And then 2 got a little bit sillier, like they had side missions where you're rolling around in a sewage truck, blasting houses and cars with shit. And then like 3 was where they just decided to go entirely, kind of self-aware.
Fuck it.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, I like 3. Let's see here. Jala, what does Amanda say?
Amanda says, I played King's Quest V bootlegged as a kid before picking up the earlier games on GOG last year. Boy, am I glad manual-based DRM is gone.
Oh, yeah. Amanda referring to the quizzes that would play on Startup, where it would say, yes, answer the question, what is the 5th letter of the 3rd word on the 17th line of page 14 of yon scroll manual?
Oh, Lord.
Wow.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Wow, that's pretty rough.
Now, DRM that is also age protection, like on the first Leisure Suit Larry game, was also not great, but I have some memories of trying to play the first Leisure Suit Larry game at a friend's house and trying to answer questions about the Carter administration.
That's pretty awesome.
Yep.
It's a picture of a cassette tape. What is this?
Well, this was like 1995 or 6 or something like that. So, let's go ahead. What's that?
Oh, I was just laughing at the idea of trying to trick someone, being like, "That's a cassette tape. I use it all the time." What are you? Damn it! I'm in the wrong time period.
Where did I leap to? I need to find a mirror. Derek
Curses,
writes,
we overshot.
Derek says, my first Assassin's Creed game was by Black Flag. I absolutely love the sailing, even singing along with the shanties myself. I even enjoyed hunting down the collectibles thanks to the beautifully rendered island environments. Gotta say, though, going back to the previous games was a huge bummer. So much banality I had to stop after AC2. All the charm of Black Flag was replaced by kitsch. All the goodwill I had for the series was mercilessly killed when I heard, Ezio, don't you remember your uncle? It's a me, Mario. that does happen. And that ending with Salt in the Wounds, a series I thought I was going to love, became one that I despised.
But wait, the movie's almost out.
Is that Michael Fassbender?
That'll save us.
Yeah.
Oh,
Such a curveball.
that's just a kick in the nuts, man.
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty funny. Oh, man. Yeah, I mean, I got into... I hated Assassin's Creed 1, really liked Assassin's Creed 2, but, like, that series does move forward, albeit at a very glacial pace, so I could see not being able to go back to... I could even see, like, if you start with Brotherhood, like, finding 2 to just be interminable.
Yeah, I can't imagine going back and playing 1 now.
Oh, man.
Like, I remember talking with people online, and like, there's so little to do in the game that we would like, okay, I started at point A and I ran to point B, and here's the fastest I could get there. See if anyone can beat that. And like with like a stopwatch next to me, like there's no in-game mechanism for tracking that. It was just like looking at a clock.
Oh God, yeah, that's pretty grim.
Yep.
Let's see here, Ben. What does Dustin say?
Dustin says, I played Morrowind back when it was Bethesda's most popular title. I barely knew how to spell it, let alone pronounce it properly. Fast forward about 10 years. I hear some guys talking about Fallout New Vegas at the smoke pit, and I have no idea what they're talking about. I ask a few questions. They pause and look at me in disbelief. You've never played Fallout? You're the biggest gamer in the shop. What? I just watched BoJack Horseman this weekend, so I'm on top of that.
Season 3 out?
Yeah, season 3 is out. Yeah.
You see, all of this time, I thought I was another generic sci-fi shooter, which are 2 genres I stay away from, but they explain the mechanics and let me borrow New Vegas for a night. Yep, this is Bethesda engine that I love. Bought Fallout 3 and New Vegas on my lunch break the next day, which more than held me over until Skyrim's next release next year. Best $30 to $40 I've ever spent.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
Yeah. I'd be curious if they instead went back to or not instead, if they went back and checked out Fallout 1 or 2. We see an example of that a little bit later. Okay. Actually in the next one. But New Vegas is not a bad place to enter that series, in my opinion.
Yeah.
In fact, 3 was the one that I really played and got interested in. Shit. There are so many of these where that's true.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Yeah.
Jala, what does Ollie say?
Ollie says?
Yes. Huh? Well, yeah, what does Ollie say?
Ollie says, Fallout. I listened to the WAF episodes and decided to play Fallout 3. Really liked it. Then I saw a compilation of 1, 2, and Tactics for cheap and got it. I am loving the earlier games. So much fun, and now they are my school games club games for the year. I can't wait to see the young lads and ladies debating how to solve the problems.
That's right. Ollie is a teacher and uses games like in the classroom as like an extracurricular kind of thing.
Indeed.
Yeah. Very cool.
Nice. Pretty
great. Yeah, I could totally see doing like a collaborative morality thing. Like, okay, how are we going to resolve this?
That would actually be really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in the same boat. I played Fallout 3, really liked it. Picked up 1, 2, and Tactics in some GOG sale. I think maybe even free.
Mm-hmm.
But I bounced hard off of 1, which I think just I never really was into CRPGs growing up, so I don't have that nostalgia factor to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kind of bounced off it pretty hard.
Yeah.
I don't know, you might be familiar, Kole, or anyone else who's played them. Is 2 like a big leap forward over 1 that would be worth kind of going and checking out?
2 plays the same. It only has a couple of like very minor interface kind of things. It also begins like absolute dog shit. So if you tried to fire up 2, it would be actually more aggressively kind of hostile to your inquiry. It only
wrong direction.
It gets better. This I like the story and 2 better. I like the tone and the humor in it better. Yeah, like they're very much kind of built in the same engine and interface, and the things that you found impenetrable about 1 are going to be present in spades in 2.
Yeah. I remember it being big news that Fallout 3 was in the first-person perspective. And then, I played it being like, well, this doesn't seem too revolutionary to me. And then I went back to 1 and it was like, oh, okay, I get why people were excited.
Yep.
This makes a lot more sense.
Yeah. Jala, what does Jason say?
Jason says, Left 4 Dead was a game I didn't get into until the second entry came out, but I was able to pick up both of them together and enjoy playing through both with some friends who were already familiar with the series. Diablo would be another example. I started with 2 and continue to play 3, though 1 was too clunky to go back to and finish.
I'm sorry I had you read 2 in a row. I meant to go back to Dennis, but I got confused.
I was just like, whatever. I'm rolling with it.
Yeah.
Fine.
Left 4 Dead is kind of a weird example because it was such a it was like a platform upgrade as opposed to like a straight sequel kind of thing. So if you played 2, it completely obviates the need to play 1.
Is that right? Like, are the missions actually the same, or is it just the format of the game is such that really you're not missing a ton by going backwards?
They even imported the maps and missions and stuff from 1 into 2 engine.
Okay. Yeah, they did. Yeah, if you buy Left 4 Dead 2, Left 4 Dead 1 is inside Left 4 Dead 2. You can play those missions.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. And
Left 4 Dead recursion.
Wait a minute. What would the function be? Left n left in plus 1 divided by 2, something like that. Try to figure it out. Eventually get up to left 64 7 or something. Oh man, that was complete nonsense.
It was almost math.
Yeah, it was almost. It sounded like math. Yeah. As far as I understand, every addition that they made into was additive, right? It wasn't like you would go back and play 1 because it was something else. I'm saying this not being very aware of the balance changes. I know they made the AI director a little bit more of a dick in 2.
And they added melee weapons.
Oh yeah. Am I correct on that, Jala?
I don't know.
Oh.
Maybe.
Okay.
I've played both of them. But I have not recognized the difference in the director, but I've played them both briefly. So.
Yeah. Let's see here. We're about at time, but we're kind of in sight of the end. So why don't we do not a speed round, but let's power through.
Let's go.
Yeah. Ragavan says, I actually got into Souls in a reverse order. I used to be someone who disliked Souls as a franchise because it felt like the game was sadistic and intentionally obtuse. At the nonstop urging of a friend, I picked up and finished Bloodborne and was left with all the confusion in the world, and then spent time digging around for lore. Absolutely loved the trove of information that the community had gathered. Then, by a trickling effect, I started watching the best friends play of Dark Souls 2, which got me so hyped that I actually finished DS1 and then DS3. Love the series so much that now I consider myself an evangelist for the game. Only less happy jester robed. There we go. Evangelist, referring to the evangelist in Dark Souls 3. Just providing the footnotes for that response.
Yeah, got it.
We've heard from a lot of folks like that. In the kind of the Souls kind of stuff. Either people who picked up with Bloodborne when they got their PS4, and then moved on to 3, or kind of a lot of people who started with 3 and then moved backwards.
Is that right? That surprises me.
Yeah, I mean, it happens. 3 is a really big title.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's not like there's a whole bunch of story continuity to build on other than like vague references.
Well, or direct, very overt and unnecessary ones. But that's a fight that I fight literally every day of my life. That shows existence as a chore. Let's see here. I read that one. So Ben, what does Christopher say?
Chris says, I've had a similar experiences going back to the beginnings of the Elder Scrolls series and Wasteland, starting with Morrowind in the Elder Scrolls series and Wasteland 2. But wow, going backwards was just horrible garbage trash for me. I think not having that nostalgia is a big hindrance, and the fact that, well, the systems, gameplay, etc. Has just improved over time. I can totally relate to that. I think a lot of the series that I've gotten into, like Half-Life or Fallout, it's harder for me to go back and try the older games, even though The Witcher 3, for example. Totally get that.
Yeah, I understand that one. But anyway, also with Elder Scrolls, I started with Morrowind as well, and I looked at the older games because I was like, what are the other? Nope. that was the extent of it.
That's the thing about sequels, right? Like people are very split on whether or not they get better, as they go. I think that in general, like we're in a really good time for sequels that are actually really, really good and have been for about 10 years. But they do change, and often for like the more accessible or the more kind of like understandable. And that is a testament to how studios can learn over time of what worked and what didn't. But also it kind of just it creates this weird backward/upward slope.
Yeah, second game is kind of the sweet spot for most series.
Yeah. Mass Effect 2, Assassin's Creed 2.
Uncharted 2.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
Good thing they quit while they were ahead.
I got a wild hair to go and finish Uncharted 4, so I could just lend it
I can
to
play
you.
that now.
Yeah. Yes, you can. And once I finish it, you can borrow it. Or if you're like super motivated to play, I can just lend it to you. There's no need for me to hold it hostage.
I'm in a hardcore Souls hole right now,
okay.
so I'll have plenty of time before I have to worry about that.
If you want the boy's soul. Yep. Let's see here. Oh boy, that was Ben who read Chris. Why don't we do Dennis with David?
Yeah, David says Dragon Quest. I didn't get into the series until 8 on the PS2. I've since gone back and played them all, as well as the Pokemon-esque Joker spin-off games.
I have to say, I didn't get into Dragon Quest until 8 either, to be honest. And I meant to go back and play those, but it's again one of those things where it's like, like I don't know if I've got that much drive to do that. Drive focus, really.
Drive,
I don't know
focus, desire.
But I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed it enough to consider going back and playing the other ones. But I mean, backlog is a thing, and I don't need to add to that by putting 7 more titles on there.
Yeah.
So
it's weird, those remakes of not 3 but like 4, 5, and 6 for the DS came out at what would have been a really good time. Like they came out while I was in college, right? And really, really into playing DS games. However, they never ever dropped in price. And so at all the time in the world, I had to really call my shots with money. And now I have, I'm okay with money. But I have absolutely no time. So it is a real, like, 2 ships passing in the night situation until I can find an excuse to play one of those for a show.
Yeah, I feel you there.
Yeah. Let's see here. That was you, Jala. Dennis, what does Lionel say?
Lionel says, someone already mentioned Dragon Quest, so I'll mention Shin Megami Tensei. I loved playing Persona 4, so after playing it, I instantly started Nocturne. Playing that game solidified the core of my soul, and also turned me into a Shin Megami Tensei fanboy. Exploring old SMT games feels like discovering some forgotten treasure. The 16-bit era was brutal in difficulty and had explicit religious themes. Then the 32-bit era felt more cyberpunk. They eventually went full anime during the PS2 generation. I recommend downloading either Nocturne or Persona 4 on PSN. Last time I checked, they were being sold for like $10.
Yeah, Persona 4 goes on sale fairly frequently for $10, but I think even as regular price, like $19.99 for an 80-hour JRPG that you can play literally anywhere, it's still worth it.
I kick myself to this day. Persona 3 was a PlayStation Plus game, and I just didn't get off my ass and download it.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and so it's one of the very few that are not in my collection that I missed and can't play now. Not can't play. I could go buy it.
Right. It
would have been a
forever.
layup for me to go play.
Yeah, that option is grayed out. Like, I can't go. They're like, you snooze, you lose. Seems really...
It's just a screen that says you done fucked up.
Don't take it personally. Your groans sustain me. And then let's finish this out with Nick, who says, Metroid! I was first introduced via Prime, loved it so much I went back and played everything I could, although Prime, Hunters, was a beefy mess. I've never heard that couplet, beefy mess. It's pretty good.
Well, it makes me think of Chef Boyardee commercials.
Oh, no.
There you go, a beefy mess.
16 resolution. That's what I want to become at the gym.
A beefy mess. Let's see here. Sorry. More recently, the Dynasty Warriors series has got me hooked. My first was Gundam 3 for the 360s, then the 3DS Zelda version. But wow, what a straight-up fun co-op romp. And then says very nice things about the show. Thank you.
Yeah. Yay!
Yeah.
Man, I'm probably going to play my first Warriors game, actually, when the Berserk one comes out later.
Ooh.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'm hungry for Berserk content, and everything I've seen of that makes it look like a Warriors-ass Warriors game, but, you know, who knows? Maybe the theming will sell me.
It might sell you.
Yeah. So I've already given mine. In fact, a couple of them throughout there. I want to hear yours kind of going through in the same order that we've done. Ben, what's the series that you got into late via a strange kind of entry point?
So I think I kind of gave mine with Metal Gear Solid, maybe Shadow of the Colossus as well. I went back and played Ico after that one.
That's a good one, yeah.
Yeah, there's not like a strong answer for me on this one.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do agree that it's hard to go back once you've tasted the upgraded engine.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, that's why HD remakes are a thing and remasters and.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I about said something really depressing when we were talking about like, oh, who would go play Assassin's Creed, which is it's about high time for the Assassin's Creed HD upgrade / reimagining / remake.
Oh God! Maybe they'll actually add stuff to the first one. Like the first one is by far, well, I don't know enough about the later games to say this with confidence, but of the games I've played, the first one is by far the strongest in terms of just thematically and fitting into history wise, which is really, really cool. Like the rest of them are kind of, they fit in assassinations and kind of pseudo-do historical characters, but from the original game, like all the original 9, I think it was, assassinations were people who were assassinated. It was never solved how they were actually killed. So this was it was like very clearly pulled from history. And you kind of have to go. You can't really reach that far again once you start pumping these out, every year. So
yeah. There's barely any time to do the research.
I just wish they'd had a game with
it. Dennis, how about you? Anything you got into late?
Yeah, this is 100% true. Mine was Pong.
What?
So I literally, the first time I'd ever heard or played Pong was Pong: The Next Generation
on PS1?
PlayStation 1. Yeah.
Wow.
Somehow,
which was released in the same cash grab wave as like the Frogger game for PSX.
Frogger, Breakout. Yeah, it all came out in at the same time. And I played it and loved it. And then like someone was like, you do know this is like the original game, right? I was like, what are you talking about? And went on to discover, there is actually this game called Pong that was kind of fundamental to video games.
Yeah.
So, went back and played and enjoyed that. But I'm browsing back through images of Pong: The Next Generation and remembering that they actually did a pretty kick-ass game. Like they had a bunch of different variations on the base Pong, and that were really creative and fun. So not as much of a cash grab. I mean, definitely still a cash grab, but a well done cash grab. For its time. So
that's pretty funny.
That's mine. Go figure.
Wow. And then Jala, round us out.
Well, I get into most everything late as hell. Well, I say that I didn't used to, so like all the really old shit from like NES, I pretty much played all of that.
Right.
But like insofar as, you know, quasi new stuff, like I already mentioned Morrowind, I already mentioned Metal Gear. Another one is Resident Evil. I started with 4. And I actually didn't go back and play the older ones. I watched someone else play them, and then I just played, well, other than like I played Resident Evil Outbreak and some other random bits, but I didn't play all the survival horror-y ones. But then I played forward from there. Other ones, let's see, King of Fighters, but fighting games, I mean, you know, whatever. And then Sniper Elite 3, I played that one, and then I went back and tried to play some of 2, and I'm like, it's all right. I like the way Sniper Elite 3 plays better than 2, and then I looked at 1, and I'm like, nope. So, you know, that's a thing.
Yeah.
But.
Huh.
Yeah, and then of course, you know, like I didn't start with a later installment. A lot of times what happens is I just never played a series at all. And then, you know, like say with BioShock, I just picked it up randomly, you know. So.
Yeah, and then the vector by which you get the urge to go back and play that thing that you otherwise ignored. Like ignoring something is a pretty hard, like ignoring a piece of media is a pretty hard instinct to get over. Once you've made that decision that it's already like, well, I didn't play this when it was out, so bleh.
Well, I don't really mind. I really kind of am totally immune to that because I just kind of go all over the board with everything that I do. So, I mean, like, you know, me not knowing about something that is recent or even quasi-recent within the last 15 years, that's not very surprising. Like, you know, I'm just like, I'm spotty with my keeping up with any kind of content. So, you know, like I constantly consume it, but it's just, you know, different stuff. Sometimes I'm retro gaming. Sometimes I'm playing stuff that's actually new. Other times it's just really like random, obscure stuff nobody's heard about. So,
yeah,
you know. But anyway, that's it.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you, Eric, for submitting that question, and thank you so much, everybody, for answering it. Thank you, Jala, for posting it. Thanks all around. If you would like to be thanked in the future, you can go to facebook.com/thelevelpodcast and watch for those to go up on Tuesday afternoons or evenings, and we super appreciate everybody who takes the time. The grind. Now it is time for the grind, where we talk about the games we have been playing over the past week or so. Does anybody have anything they want to volunteer?
I can volunteer all I want.
Well, Jala, go ahead.
well, Ben already started talking. Yes, Ben.
I was just going to say that the grind is an apt name for playing No Man's Sky. So.
Oh, no. Did your opinion turn?
I can talk about that whenever.
Okay, well, yeah, no. So let's jump into it, because that's where we left off last time, kind of on an uncertain note. And I want to hear where you landed, because I really didn't get a chance to play it over the past week.
So I've continued playing it. Basically, I've continued to make upgrades to the 3 sorts of things that you can make upgrades to. So I can move faster and be more efficient than I was at the beginning of the game. However, I still have no idea where the end of the game is. And it's very open-ended. So it's interesting playing it, because it's weird to play a game where you don't know where the ending is, but you know that it exists somewhere.
It's just further and more.
Yeah. So I don't know how I feel about that, but still playing it, so I don't know.
Oh no, that sounds like the least healthy relationship with a game. Huh.
Yeah, it does feel very grindy. But that said, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's still kind of fun to fly around in a spaceship a little bit, but it does. I mean, your interactions with the world is very limited, you know, in the sense that, you know, like you have a list of maybe 10 or 15 things you can do, and you can only do those things.
Right.
So
You can see it. That's the biggest verb. See.
See.
Yeah. Yeah. Lots of very pretty randomly generated terrain.
Yeah. And it's interesting. I've watched a few videos of other people, and I've like recognized certain planets where it's like, oh, that style seems very similar to this type of planet that I was just on. So it's interesting to see that sort of thing. Like, I wonder how many like templates they have to go off of. Yeah, I don't know.
Have you seen the piece about the different colored stars?
No.
So if people were kind of complaining like, oh my god, everything is kind of samey, and like I'm starting to see the patterns and everything like that. And it turns out that if you only stay on the critical path to the center of the galaxy, it will only take you through yellow stars. But there are, I believe it's like green, blue, and red stars out there. They're just, none of them are by default on the critical path. But if you go to them, they have a much higher probability of having more valuable resources and just weirder, more interesting flora and fauna.
That's interesting. I'm pretty sure I've hit green stars going on the critical path.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I've seen green, I've seen red, and I've seen like typical generic stars. I haven't seen blue though, so that interests me. But
yeah, and I'm talking about their color on the galactic map versus what they are when you're flying around in the system.
Okay, I see.
The difference.
Yeah,
so it's a color. Yeah. It's not the actual color of the star. It's a color coding of the galactic map,
right.
Which is interesting that they intentionally put the like cool stuff off the critical path.
I understand the impulse to do that, like saying, hey, if you want to see some cooler stuff, like we're going to light a fire under your ass, a very boring fire to make you to get you out there. However, it sounds like I'm just armchair designing, and it's totally what I'm doing. Just make them less common on the critical path. Like, you're going to hit maybe a handful, and they're going to be more frequent off the critical path, as opposed to like if you're following some of the only direction that the game gives you, you're only going to see the most boring kind of milquetoast stuff, right? Like,
it really feels like the game doesn't even want to give you the direction that it gives you. It's like, okay, look, if you need a quest marker, here you go.
Yeah.
But it's also weird because the critical path is going to be different for everybody, right? Depending upon where they start out at. So I wonder how they standardize that,
Yeah.
That's a good question. Yeah, I think what it is, and again, I have not gotten the upgraded warp drive, so I cannot get to these other stars yet. But I think the critical path, as highlighted on the map, is only stuff that you can get through to with your regular warp drive, and all of these different colored stars are you need to upgrade your warp drive to get to. Yeah. So it might just be that the algorithm showing you how to get to the center of the universe defaults to only if you have the easiest warp drive.
I think the only difference in the warp drive is just determines like your distance, because like I don't think it's number of jumps, because there's certain parts in the critical path where you might be able to jump like 6 or 7 stars just because they're kind of closely knit together, whereas on other jumps you might only be able to jump like 2 or 3 if they're far apart. But I think the upgraded warp drive just increases the distance in which you can jump in a single jump. And I got the upgrade schematic for the second upgrade for the warp drive, but I haven't built it yet because I don't have any aluminum. So that's what I'm currently doing. Yeah, but with the first upgrade, you go from about like 1-star jump to like about a 3-star jump. So I'll be curious to see what you get to with the second upgrade. Yeah.
What about like just cool shit that you've seen? Anything stand out?
There is something cool that you see maybe after you played for like maybe a couple hours or so, but I don't want to spoil it. So, yeah.
Did you get did you get into any cool dogfights?
I have a lot of blood on my hands, Kole.
By which you mean a lot of marks on your fuselage?
Yeah, I got a lot of space material on my ship. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, no, I was really like I didn't like fighting when I first began, so I tried to avoid it pretty much. But I have my ship upgraded enough so that I focused mostly on the mining laser, so it doubles up as like it can mine stuff really well. But I also use it in dogfights to try and kill the people. So that works pretty well. I'm able to kill people mostly with the mining laser, and I'm able to upgrade my shielding quickly enough if that goes down. So I'm pretty well able to handle my own. They do have a nice system where the arrows like pointing to the fighters around you, like where it's a single arrow if they're far away and a double arrow if they're close by. So that kind of helps you prioritize who you need to shoot down.
Nice.
But yeah, so I feel competent with that, but I don't like actively try and seek out and shoot people, especially because if you start shooting ships and like taking the elements from them, it just seems like you have like an endless barrage of people that come after you. Same thing with like the sentinels on planets. Like if you get in fights with them, it just seems like they don't end. So you just have to like run away.
I mean, like in my experience, the sentinel stuff is just like it's like fighting the police in Grand Theft Auto.
Yep. Yeah, except it's not fun. So.
You don't get the National Guard. You just get some kind of like weird big dog coming after you.
Yeah. Robot dog.
Ugh.
Yeah. So, I mean, I still think it's an interesting game. I'll probably try and beat it, but I don't know how quickly I'll progress on it, especially since the sequel to Myst is coming out this week, either today or Friday.
Oh,
I can't
shit.
remember which.
Abduction is?
Yeah. So that's on the radar.
Yeah, that's. I mean, especially with your witness hankering.
Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah. That kind of fell off my radar. Oh, August 24th. So Tamari.
Right.
I mean, or yesterday, if you're listening to this when it comes out. Yeah. Oh shit. Yeah, I'm hopping on that.
Yeah.
That is a Kickstarter that I'm very sad that I missed.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, I didn't intentionally say that, but there it goes. Dennis, did you have any No Man's Sky stories?
I did. So I have taken this game incredibly slow, and I talked about that a little bit on the last episode. Like I'm very content just to like run around and look at hills. Like that just scratches a nice itch. Yeah, I've literally only made one hyperdrive jump. I've only gone to one other star. Oh, wow. I 100%ed the system I started in, so I discovered every species in the system. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I'll keep on doing that in the second system, and I'll get to why. But I've seen some really, really cool stuff. The biggest thing that sticks out to me was one planet I went to, and I posted an image of it to the Slack that I'll try to link to maybe for you guys so you can see. But it has these giant root-like land structures crawling over, and I'm talking like miles long, kind of like floating in the air. Like you've seen those trees where like the roots are kind of above the ground and weave in and out. Mm-hmm. That's just covering the planet. And what it looks like where my mind went and the story I created for it, even though there's nothing to support this, was like the planet was covered in these like giant vines that petrified. And then, ages later, the plant life and life that's there has kind of reformed around these ancient petrified vines. But flying around that planet looked so cool. So that's one of the most unique things I've seen. And I don't know how much of a template that is, if you've seen any planets like that, Ben.
Yep.
Okay. So that's pretty cool.
All of my wonder in life is gone.
Yeah.
Nothing new under these many suns.
Yeah. Have you seen floating rocks?
Oh, yeah, that's like a standard for pretty much every planet.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so I've seen lots of those. I saw what effectively was a cow, except it like had a hammerhead shark head. So that was interesting. But probably the second coolest thing that I saw was one planet that I landed on just had like flying caterpillars and alligators. So like think like a worm, like you would think of it in fantasy, floating through the air, kind of weaving through the sky. Only it looked like a caterpillar.
The Y worm?
The Y worm.
Yeah, WYRM.
Oh yes, yeah, exactly. Yep. Sorry, yeah, it's hard to get through in the pronunciation. Yeah, so like a very long spindly dragon, kind of more in the Chinese sense. So kind of like that, only it looked like an alligator, which is really just looks like a dragon, I guess. But so there were I guess the right word is flock, like flocks of them over this plane. So talking like 15 to 20 on the screen at a time, just circling around. And that was a really striking visual, just seeing these things flying through the sky like schools of fish. And I named them Kiterpillars and Altigators.
And altigators?
Altigators. Alligators at altitude. So like I haven't named everything in the game, but anything that's striking to me or makes me laugh or whatever, I'll slap a name on. So
nice.
I'm having a lot of fun with that as well.
Yeah. If you try and name everything, it really balloons out of control quite quickly.
Oh my god, it does. Yeah, especially because you can name like waypoints and plants and like all kinds of shit. So
yeah.
I named a single planet Merkel, and that's it.
It's just your rim world just out there. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's No Man's Sky for me.
I mean, and I'll
get around to actually playing the game one of these days.
So you start with Merkel, then you go with Merculon, Merktopia,
I'll just do Merkel 2, Merkel 3, Merkel 4.
Well, I mean, you only do that after you start running out of different Merkel world names. Mercator,
Merkel Prime, yeah.
Mercto,
yeah, Merkel Uri.
Alpha Merctari. I guess it's a star, isn't it? Fuck. Can you name stars?
Yeah, it is a star. Yeah.
You can name systems.
Oh man. Yeah.
But you can't name your ship. What the hell?
Yeah, I don't get it.
Like, you can't name the ship in the thing naming game. So, go figure.
Well, because nobody's going to be able to see it. They might feasibly run up against the other things that you name, but not your ship.
True.
Yeah.
Sigh. Although I'm confident at some point they will have patched in player interaction.
Yeah,
like this is a game that will grow
for sure. And I'm very curious to watch the update kind of cycle as it goes. And I'm not as dismissive as I sound at this. It's just that this past week has been like Team Fortress 2 time as opposed to No Man's Sky time. It's just hard to carve out a time for it when time could be spent elsewhere. But you know, it's just kind of one of those things where it's kind of hard to muster enthusiasm when there is so much more.
Yep.
Ben, you have anything else?
I got Rocket League, of course. I think I'm up to 260 or 270 hours, so slowly but surely. Anyway, but that's all. That's not
slowly but surely as though you're working toward a goal. Like when you hit 500, are you stopping?
Goals,
okay.
Oh boy.
And Dennis, since you chimed in with No Man's Sky stuff, what else you got?
Yeah, I downloaded the player test region for Overwatch, which has been really interesting. So that's like the special server where they deploy all the buffs and nerfs and changes that they're thinking about doing before it hits the real world. And I mainly jumped over there because I had friends doing competitive play, and we wanted to have numbers attached to how we did, I guess. So the competitive play season is over in the main servers, and it's on break for 2 weeks, but it was already up and running in the player test region. So nice. we went and did that. But the coolest thing that happened with Overwatch was I ran into another duck feeder in the wild.
Oh, really?
Oh, awesome.
Like this was and there's always duck feed people playing, and so you can be grouped with them. But this was like literally I was in a match and fighting someone on the other team. I was like, that's a space line. I know a space line. Hey. And afterwards I was like, and he was like, was that you? I was like, yeah, was that you? Just this incredible, like the odds of that actually happening organically have to be just astronomical. And I guess it helped that we were on the player test region because that's a smaller group of people.
Pool, yeah.
But this was Jonathan K from the network. And
it
was yeah. So that was just like a really delightful, crazy thing that happened.
Yeah.
That will probably never happen again. But that was a lot of fun. The the changes are nothing hugely special. Like I won't go into detail on those, but that was the main event, was just running into a friend in the wild.
Yeah, but we're not in that weird period where like there is a new hero on the test server that isn't elsewhere.
So there is a new map, but that happened yesterday, and I haven't had a chance to play the game
right
since then. So unfortunately, I cannot comment on it. Although apparently the map does have a Dark Souls reference in it.
Oh yeah, I saw that. I saw the little bonfire.
Yep, one of the spawn rooms has a Dark Souls ass bonfire in it, so it's a nice little aside.
Huh.
The other game that I've actually finally freaking played is Atlas Reactor.
Oh shit! After months, maybe a year or so of anticipation.
I think that's fair to say. Like it's easily been a year, and I do not understand that game yet, and I can't tell if that's because it's bad or because there's just I'm still wrapping my mind around it.
Yeah. Can you describe the premise of Atlas Reactor just for people who might not be aware?
Yeah. So the Atlas Reactor is, think of it like League of Legends, only turn-based, but the turns play out simultaneously. So everyone in the same 20-second chunk plans out, okay, here's where I'm going to move, here's where I'm going to shoot, and here's anything special I'm going to do with my turn. Mm-hmm. And then everyone hits play at the same time. And like the old Vibration football game, you watch how the characters actually go and interact based on how you've set them.
Yeah.
And then, rinse and repeat until someone gets a certain number of kills, or one team gets a certain number of kills. So this really scratches the frozen synapse itch that I love this kind of game, simultaneous turn-based. And it was really excited to get into this. They've got a good tutorial. It's kind of like a custom arena, custom mission. And I thought the tutorial did a really good job walking you through, okay, here's how the stages are going to progress. Here's the order of operations that you need to plan around for each turn. However, then it dumps you, and then after you finish the tutorial, the next step is to play versus bots. And the full game was just overwhelming. Even though I thought the tutorial was good, I just could not follow everything that was going on.
Yeah.
Which maybe that's part of the game is, hey, you've only got 20 seconds to plan this out, and there's literally 7 other characters you've got to keep track of and think through what they might be doing. So a part of it is, I think, supposed to be chaotic, but it was hard to follow. I won one, lost one. Of note, I was playing versus AI, but it did not ever spawn me in with other players on my team. It was bots. It was all bots except for me, which I'm not sure if that's the way it's supposed to be, or the way I read the mode was I was going to spawn with other players and play versus bots. But yeah, I don't know what was up with that. So I only played 2 games, won one, lost one. Only played one character because that's all I can wrap my head around right now. I'll definitely go back to it. Like, this is, again, just on the concept alone is something that I want to get into. Mm-hmm. But it's hardcore drinking through the fire hose, overwhelmed mode right now for that game.
Yeah. I was about to ask if the turn-based nature of it gave you a false sense of security, but then I realized if somebody put a 20-second time limit on anything that I did, I would immediately feel like I was trying to defuse a bomb.
Oh my God. And you have to learn, because there's sound cues, because you're paying attention to the screen. You're not looking at the timer. There's sound cues to let you know how much you have left.
Oh no!
And that first sound cue is 10 seconds left, which is in the scale of things, a lot of time. Like you shouldn't be panicking yet, but just the fact that there's a sound cue makes you panic.
I mean,
it's like, oh shit, got locked in now.
Is it a mod, or is it by default that they just play the Sonic the Hedgehog drowning music?
Oh my God, I would not play. I'd be in a fetal position in the corner. Loads of personality to the game and the characters. Really, really solid concept, and I hope I can figure it out, because I'd really like this game to be good, and I'd also really like to be good at this game.
Yeah, on paper it sounds like a recipe that you might like, but you have to kind of determine if it's going to be like salted caramel or ketchup on ice cream.
Yeah. Right.
I like both these things.
Well, and this is, if you look at other games that I like XCOM, like I'm not averse to games with a very high difficulty curve or price to entry.
Oh, you're on the record.
Yeah. So that's me.
Cool. Jala, I want to hear what you've been playing.
Okay. Well, first off, I have continued to stream Resident Evil 6, which is my version of Ben's Rocket League. I streamed...
How many hours you got?
Oh, I don't even know. So I streamed Leon and Helena Chapter 5 and Chris Pierce Chapter 1 with Sam, and that's all I got to say about that because that's my constant. I loaded up Transformers Devastation per what I was mentioning last time, and I was actually so disappointed by the intro because it was so uninspired. Like, the art looks nice and it may play really great, but like having come off of table flipping and fist pounding action, like I really was just like, all right, if I'm not feeling this intro, I'm not even gonna. You know?
Right.
So, like, it was just really uninspired, and the voices were just obnoxious rather than, cool or anything. So I was just like, eh. And I ended up playing Transformers War for Cybertron again with Joel and Chase. So, with a couple of listeners. So that was the thing I did because War for Cybertron is just so much better. It's older, but God, it's so much better. Anyway. Well, I mean, at least the intro. I don't know how it actually plays. I will go back to Devastation eventually when I have more tolerance, but I need to play something that's not going to make me irritated for a while.
You've been on so you've been on a juice cleanse of fun for the past 3 months. You kind of need to go to a Steak and Shake. Like, it just has to happen.
So actually, the things that I played were just like random weirdo games, like my indie stuff that I usually pick up and go, "Hey, what's this thing? I don't even remember buying it. Oh, okay, now I've played it." So, well, first off, the first thing I actually did follow up on something from last week. My brief story from last week was about Close Your, which, that's an indie game currently in development. Apartment was cited as an inspiration for that game, and due to my curiosity about it, I decided to play the Apartment demo.
Okay.
So it was really good.
This is Close Your, not Closure, which is a different game.
Yeah, Close Your is the one that I mentioned on the brief last week.
Yes,
what I played
that watches
was
when
Apartment.
you blink. Yes, there we go.
Yes.
Okay.
So Apartment, a separated place, was really good, and I turned around and pre-ordered it via the website. It's $14.99. It's supposed to release first quarter 2017. They have it to where they've been going to a lot of shows and demoing the game and everything. It's just that they're trying to put polish on it, and they are indie devs, so they all have day jobs. So that's why it's been pushed back a little bit. Anyway, it's got a very interesting way of narrating. You basically walk around and look at stuff in your apartment. The whole premise of this is you are playing a guy named Nick who has recently suffered a breakup with his girlfriend of like 4 years or something. And, he's just kind of like looking around and trying to like work through his emotions and his thoughts and everything that come up during this time. And then also it kind of progresses, at least during the demo, over into another person, like one of his neighbors' apartments. And then you see, like, first off, you hear Nick's commentary about, this neighbor and, what he thinks of this neighbor. And then it goes into that neighbor's apartment and then shows what's going on in that neighbor's place, that neighbor's head. And so it's really kind of interesting. It's basically, you walk around, you look at stuff in your apartment, and then text pops up and tells you parts of the story, of what happened from Nick's perspective. And it appears in various places. It may be hovering in the air right above you, or if you click and hold down the mouse on a particular item that is, like basically focusing on it, then it'll pop up right in front of you. Sometimes it'll be on a wall or on the floor, whatever. As you uncover each sequence of like the overarching story of what happened, it shows you comic panels reconstructing it. Basically, the guy who you're playing, Nick, is a comic artist. So, you see his drawing table, and he mentions like it's so much easier to write stories about people who aren't me, who aren't, other people, because, like that doesn't have an emotional attachment. It's easier to do that. And I can personally identify with some of the things that are mentioned, both between some things that he says about, comic making, and then also Madison, which is the ex-girlfriend, used to love to paint and hadn't touched a canvas in months, that kind of thing. And I can relate to that too, because, being a painter, there was a point in time where I didn't, for different reasons when things were difficult. It's very bittersweet and realistic. If I were more of a melancholy person, I think I would, be sad about this game. But actually, I'm just like, yeah, that's life.
Can you hit me again with that word that you just said, that you are not the kind of person of that?
Melancholy.
Okay.
Melancholy.
Okay.
However you want to say it.
Okay. Sorry.
I think that you, although like as much as I say this, I do think, Kole, that you would really enjoy the manner in which the story is told.
Yeah. It sounds like a book that I really like, which is Life a User's Manual, where it's like, okay, a moment frozen in time of this apartment, like this apartment building in the 70s, and it's like going through each house like item by item and revealing the story that is kind of told through that. So yeah, like you're right on the money. Like I love that kind of personal archaeology. Yeah. And so the demo is free. It's up on their website, which is apartmentga.me. So like apartment game, but with a period in between the GA and the ME. Yeah. So anyway, that's cool. And I really have, I enjoyed the brief amount of time that I played it, to the point that, like I said, I actually pre-ordered it. I don't pre-order games. So that's kind of like a thing. Like I don't normally do that kind of a thing. So that's one thing I played. Any questions about that so far? No, I mean, that speaks pretty highly of it, that you played it and were convinced to lay your money down.
Commit to a pre-order.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, especially if like an indie game, like, then again, I back Kickstarters, so whatever, it's the same thing. The other thing
so is this like a, I mean, I hate to say this word, like a walking simulator kind of thing, like a first person Unity style thing? Like it looks like there are a lot of like shaders kind of in play as well.
Yeah, you're you're exploring the apartment and clicking on stuff and then reading, things and looking around at stuff. So yeah, it's pretty walkie simmy.
That's fine.
Yep. The other thing I played is actually also, now that I think about it, like there are puzzle aspects to it, but it's also pretty walk simulator. I just need something chill. What can I say? All right, this one is called Rememoried. This game is on crack, is what this is. Okay, so
in a fun way or in a bad way?
I'm not sure. Okay, so let me explain this to you. All right, so the basic element of this is the ability to forget, is what the website says. And forgetting is the way, is how they say it verbally while you're playing the game. Basically, you quote rememory things like platforms by looking away and then turning back. Like the shit changes when you look away and turn back again because you apparently forgot what it was, Like it's real weird. It's basically very much like a dreamscape, if you will. Wow. Black and white weirdo dreamscape. Like if you go look at the visuals from this game, it's wacky looking. And
this is incredibly visually busy. Good God.
It's real freaking weird. And literally one of the reviews of this game was just tripping balls. That was it. That was it. And I can imagine that if somebody were drunk or high, this game would be really fucking crazy. But like, I wouldn't know about that. But that's a thing that, yeah. Anyway, a lot of the reviews about this game say that it's interesting, but due to the flawed design, you should not feel eaten up about using a guide for it. I gotta admit, like I tried to play it, just walk in there not knowing what the hell to do, and I was like, what's going on? I accidentally got to the second level, and then
I accidentally made progress.
Yeah, I accidentally got there, and then like I didn't know what was going on, and suddenly the scenery changed, and I'm like, okay, I made progress. And then I didn't know about the Rememory thing. Like I because basically I bought this game, I thought it looked interesting and weird and I wanted to play it, and then I forgot that I bought it, so I didn't remember what the store page had said, and like I just booted it up and started playing it blind and didn't go look at the store page again. So I didn't know, oh, you have to turn around and then, the shit changes and then that's how you can progress upwards. Okay, got it. So I started using a guide because of that. And it's really simple. Like the objectives are usually like go up to this one item or, like listen to the voice cues and then like, search for this thing. Like it's really simple tasks that they give you most of the time. So I don't really know that you really need a guide once you pick up the basics of how the game plays.
Right.
But anyway, like if you're blind and you go into this game, you don't know what's going on. Like, yeah, I don't know. Like
this sounds like a nightmare.
If you fail enough times during one of the levels, though, it'll drop you back down to a lower level. And that's what happened the first time I played it. Like I was playing it and then I got to the second level and I didn't know how to get upwards because the platforms weren't in the right place. And then it dropped me down to the first level again. And I'm like, what's going on?
Huh. I don't know,
anyway.
This question might be semi-loaded. Does this game have any kind of like sense of humor about itself?
No.
No. I feel anxious just watching the game trailer.
Yeah.
Well, the thing about it is like, you know what? I was just kind of like, basically when I turned this game on and I started walking around in the game, I'm like, this is some weird shit. What is going on? And like it was so bonkers. Like I didn't mind that I didn't know what was going on because it's just so crazy in the first place. So it kind of reminds me of Anna in that way, because when I played that game, I was told off the bat by the listener who gave it to me that I should just open up a guide and leave it open and just use the guide to play the game just to see the game. So it, like this, I think if you are interested in it from the visuals and stuff, like definitely have a guide. Now here's the thing. There are a total of 23 dreams or 23 levels to this game. I got to level 11 before I got stuck, even with a guide, and here's why. This is a nightmare. In that level, you're in an actual space, all right? Except what you see is a kaleidoscope. Like if you go look up Rememoried kaleidoscope and just look at that level. There are jellyfish, purple trees, picture frames, headless mannequins, and all different kinds of stuff like floating around, and you're supposed to kind of navigate through here using those visual clues to like figure out where you're supposed to go, because there's an actual spot you're supposed to go to in the map. And there is even
like the highway signs with jellyfish and purple trees on
it. And it's a kaleidoscope. So how does that even work? Like you have to somehow focus it to get to where you're supposed to go. And there was a tip I read that said that if you walk far enough in any given direction, you'll eventually get to the end of the map. And before it starts you over again in the level, you can turn around and see the map for what it is without the kaleidoscope, skin over it. And I did that, and I still couldn't figure out how the hell to get to where I needed to go. So I was like, okay, I think I'm done now at this level.
Right.
I don't need to go any further than this. I feel like I got what the game had to offer. It's really cracky. Like it is just weird. And I probably won't go back to it unless I feel really, really zealous. But like, yeah, I interestingly, as much as like it sounds like, oh man, this sounds like a horrible game, why would you ever play that? That actually, it didn't frustrate me. I was just like, I don't even know.
It looks unique for sure.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with taking a risk on a new experience, right?
Yeah, and it had mixed reviews, but then again, so does Abyss Odyssey, and I love that game.
Right. It's
like I don't really care about that. So
and you can never know if you can trust the Steam reviews if like there's like some kind of weird like political review bomb kind of thing happening, like any number of things like that. Man, maybe it's because I'm more of a Mondrian guy instead of a Pollock guy, but like I hear the description of this and I look at the presentation of it and I think like, man, this was a really good idea when Antichamber did it. And Antichamber is actually a really cool, fun, like, spatial mindfuck in a way that this seems to be trying to be in a vein. I don't know. I haven't played this, so it's hard for me to make a if this then that kind of like argument, but like all I can think of is, man, Antichamber is great.
Solid takeaway.
What's that, Jala?
I have not played that.
Oh, it's really good. I think I have a copy sitting around from a Humble thing, if I can go and find it. And if I do, I will give it to you.
Yay! But yeah, so Rememoried, it's basically like, okay, just an example of what a normal level is, like jump up the platforms to get to the top. It's not really hard platforming or anything. You just have to turn around and look back again, and then eventually the platforms reform to where they need to be to get you up to the top. And that's kind of like, I liked that aspect of the game, actually, once I figured out that was a thing, because I didn't know what I could trust, because this is a dreamscape anyway, so that really gave it that kind of dreamy feel where it's like, yeah, but wait, this doesn't make any sense. How did this move over here? Wasn't that over there before? Like that kind of thing. Like that really added to the overall mindfuckery, I guess. But like the first level, all you do is there is an arrow on, like a sign arrow that points you in a direction, and you just go in the direction that the arrow points you. And then this basically a white mask in a big black sheet, ghost looking guy comes up to you. And then that's it. That's the end of the level. Like, you're supposed to just find that guy, and that's it. And then you move on to the next level, and then you go up to the top of the, platforms, and then that's the end of that level. I mean, it's really simple stuff that you have to do. So it's not nearly as complicated, other than the kaleidoscope level, which really shouldn't have existed in the first place. Like that, if that should be like the ending level if you want to go there, because like that's like complicated and weird, and like that's like a random sudden ramp up in like what they want you to do versus, make it over there to that place over, and go touch this object. Okay. Like,
right.
Oh, so
Jala, this doesn't sound very good at all.
No, I would not recommend that you play this game. For people who are interested in weirdo experiences, though, this is a weirdo experience. Just, like take it as what it is, and be done with it when you're done with it.
Yeah.
And you might just want to go look it up on YouTube and then just watch somebody else play it. That might be less stressful. But then again, part of the experience is like walking around in this environment and going, man, this is weird. What's going on, man? You don't get that if you're watching somebody else play.
True.
So.
Yeah. Huh. Well, I'm happy to know about it because,
it's a weirdo thing, and I played it, and I'm done with it, and that's it. It didn't make me mad, so that's fine.
Yeah. I already gave away my copy of Antichamber from one of the Humble Bundles, so you're on your own.
Okay.
Womp. Sorry. Huh. Anything else, Jala?
Nope.
Okay.
Well, I dabbled with stuff, but I'll talk about them when I've actually played enough.
Understood. Yep.
There's like a baseline level of dabblery that you have to assume across all of us.
Yeah.
Like I've been dabbling with Hearthstone and Destiny, and Ben has been dabbling with Rocket League.
Yeah. And I've been dabbling with stuff that I might talk about at length later, but I just have not played enough to even make a note of it. Yeah. So dabblers unite. So since we are united, do you want to button it up?
I have one thing I want to interject with.
Oh, okay.
I forgot to mention this. I did play Thomas Was Alone and beat that game over the last week.
Oh shit! I saw you playing that on Steam.
Yeah.
Cool.
One of my coworkers who streams started playing that, and I usually watch his stream, but I couldn't watch it because I wanted to play that game, so that forced me into playing and beating that game. So, fun puzzle game, interesting characters. Don't have much to say about it.
Yeah, I talked about it a while back. It's fun. It's cute, and it runs on pretty much anything, and chances are you have a free copy of it, and it is part of that storied genre of a narrator describes everything you're doing games.
A British narrator, no less.
Subset British narrator.
Yeah.
Because if I said that, I would exclude Bastion, but I don't want to exclude Bastion. So
I like that. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Oh, and if you're wondering why I didn't say anything, because I ain't played shit. So do you want to button it up?
Yes,
Buttons.
we can button.
The credit.
And that was level number 163. Oh my gosh, climbing up. We're just about to 175, which is nuts. Crazy, I tell you. So old. But yeah, we really appreciate you listening. Like we said at the top, there is that shirt store, which you can get to at Duckfeed.tv/shirts. And that gets you a chance to, not a chance, it gets you the assuredness that you're going to get a level or Duckfeed or level in-joke style thing. We have the logo, we have the Sugar Bone shirt design. Jala, I want to hear what you think when you get yours. In fact, anybody who has gotten one of these, I want to see pictures. Please send me pictures of your stuff. Whether it is a shirt
or it didn't happen.
Or an object. Yeah. No, I mean, I trust that you bought it. Like I see the report. Like I get the, we get the cut. But I want to see the stuff out in the world, because like this really isn't about money. It's, primarily about being able to see physical stuff from the network in the world. So like that is like that is where the rubber hits the road for me personally. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yay!
But there's the usual stuff for the show. You can tell your friends, which is a huge thing you can do. Ratings or reviews on iTunes are very helpful indeed. And if you want to check out ways to support the show by shopping on Amazon or whatnot, go to duckfeed.tv/tipjar. Fellas and lady, did I forget anything?
No.
Nope.
Don't think so.
Okay. Well, I've been Kole Ross at Kole Ross on Twitter.
I've been Dennis Furia at DFuria on Twitter.
Always Jala-chan and Neon Sky Studio.
Mostly Ben at Merkleiser on Twitter.
And stick around for some titles. Okay, he wants to throw some in.
I got some.
Okay, Jala, go ahead.
Who loop?
Okay.
Why, Lord, why?
Okay.
Soul's hole.
Okay.
Beefy Mess.
Let me see here. Anything else?
That's it.
Okay, 1 second here. Ben, how about you? What you got?
I also have Why Lod Why. I have Hardcore Soul's Hole. I have Beefy Mess as well. I have It Is Always T-shirt season. I have The Y Worm. I have Altigators. And I have Merkle Centauri.
Can I get a judge's ruling from the other two hosts? I have Alpha Merktari. is I think the verbatim joke from the show. Yeah. Do we have a preference so we don't muddy the waters?
I think Merktari is good.
Whichever one is on the show, or whichever one was said earlier.
Okay, all right, yeah. So it's always shirt season. What was between that and Alpha Merktari, or
the Y Worm and Altigators?
Okay. I also had Kite Pillars and Altigators. So that is, I'm going to count that as a duplicate here. Dennis, what you got?
Mostly duplicates. I've got R Rod and Y Lod, which I would put under Y Lod Y. I've got Kiter Pillars and Altigators, or any variant thereof. And then the one thing I didn't hear was a juice cleanse of fun.
Yeah, there's a bunch of good stuff here. Does anybody have a compelling case to make for one of their favorites?
I think my top three are Why Lod Why, Hardcore Soul's Hole, and Beefy Mess.
How would you spell Y Lod Y?
The letter Y, then LOD, and the letter Y. Question mark, exclamation point.
So I stylized it as Y as in WHY. LOD, LOD, question mark, and then Y, exclamation mark, question mark. But letter Y, LOD, question mark, Y, exclamation mark, question mark, seems pretty good as well.
It's I had another way again, so there's a lot of variance there. So maybe that pushes it down.
But what was the way you had it?
I had Y-LAWD. Why?
Yeah.
Loud.
Yeah.
Why?
I want to keep away. I want to keep away from evoking a particular dialect.
Fair enough.
Yes. Why? Beefy Mess is pretty good. I like Beefy Mess a lot.
I like
it
Beefy Mess
it didn't come
you
from
were...
us.
Well, and also because you were so creeped out and disgusted by the Chef Boyardee comment. Like, I need that in my life, like as a representation, represented forever in the feed,
Is it Beefy Mess or a Beefy Mess?
I just like Beefy Mess.
Beefy Mess.
Okay, let's go with that.
Streamline it. Okay, there we go. No objections here. This episode will forever be immortalized as Beefy Mess.
Put it on a t-shirt.
And then Kole will cringe anytime he sees it.
just Beefy Mess with arrows pointing out from it.